What's up, everyone? Howard Kingston here, entrepreneur, marketer, and co-founder of Growth Velocity Academy. In this episode, how to double the conversion rates of your landing page. So this is big because your landing page is really the first experience a new customer will have when they hit your website or your app or whatever it is, right? So that landing page is absolutely critical. You know that saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression? Well, that's what a little bit like the landing page is, right? So we're not talking about your website as a whole here. The landing page is always the one which people hit immediately, hit first or immediately. Let's say you're running an ad campaign, say a Facebook ad, and someone clicks on the link and it goes to what you call the landing page on your website. And you can have multiple landing pages, but think of it like the store entrance to your store, right? If you had a physical store, okay? So let's talk about why that is so important to get that right and how you can double your conversion rate. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking through three very practical, very tactical ways that you can just do today to double your conversion rate, and they will work. Now, why is this even important, guys? Well, let's just imagine you've got a landing page on your website and you've done the stats, haven't you? And you can see that 5% of visitors are converting and signing up on the landing page, because guess what? That is what you want. You want someone to, when they hit your landing page, to actually sign up for your service, don't you? So let's say it's 5%. So that is 5 out of 100 people are signing up. Well, let's just imagine you do what I'm about to tell you in this episode and you double that. So now 10% of people are signing up. That means 10 out of 100 people are showing up. You've just doubled your conversion rate, yes, but you've also just doubled the number of customers you're getting. And assuming your, say, sign up and kind of sales rate remains consistent, you'll have also doubled your revenue. What's not to like about that? So it's really big. So I remember I really kind of got the impact of this. A business I helped launch a few years ago. We had launched and we were doing really well. And we're probably at about, kind of like somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million users in about, kind of like about 6 months into the journey. And I remember we analyzed our user experience of the landing page, like how were customers signing up? And we saw there was this one point that people hit in the new user experience, that when someone hit our landing page for the first time and were signing up for the product, there was one point that was a bit complicated. They had to sign up for this thing. I won't go into the details, but basically they had to sign up and download a piece of software, okay, because we wanted to give them a really cool graphical experience, okay? They had to download this piece of software that wasn't already in their browser, all right? So, about 40% of people would do that. We found that we had a 40% sign up rate from that. And so the other way of looking at it is we were losing 60% of people at that point. All right. But yeah, we were still growing pretty well, but we were losing 60% of people. So what we did a test. We said, well, hold on. We think it's really important that people get this amazing graphical experience there. But what if we move that back a bit? Right. We got them onboarded, got them signed up already, and kind of gave them some of the stuff they were looking for. And we can give them that graphical thing, a little bit further on down their journey using the product. So we did. And we were instantly able to double the percentage of people that were signing up through that flow. So we were essentially doubling the number of customers we were getting for almost no extra effort. Like, what's not to like about that? Doubling your conversion rate. A lot of times people kind of say to me, "Oh, Howard, what's the latest growth hack?" And guys, this here is a growth hack that will continue to give you great results. And you know what? You don't really have to put that much effort into it. You've already got your website. This is just about getting double the results from what you've already got. So have I convinced you yet? I hope so. So let's jump straight in. 3 top tips to you doubling your conversion rate. Well, number 1 is the 5-second NUX. 5-second NUX, NUX. What does that mean? That stands for the 5-second new user experience. Now, I'm talking about 5 seconds because that's a really important number in your mind when you're thinking about a landing page for your site, because a big study happened a few years ago where Microsoft analyzed like millions of pages, like millions. It was one of the biggest pieces of research done on the web, and they analyzed all these pages, and they wanted, one of the things they wanted to find out was how many seconds did people take when they hit a new page on a website before they decided whether to stay and maybe continue on that page or click something, go to another page, or just leave the website completely. How many seconds do you think it was? How many seconds did people on average take before they decided to stay on the page or leave? Well, the answer was 5 seconds. All right, not 10 seconds, not 30 seconds, not like a minute of pondering. Oh, I wonder what this is about. No, 5 seconds, very quick, in, out. And one of my favorite books on kind of this whole topic is by this guy called Steve Krug, and he's written an incredible book. He wrote it about 15 years ago. I read it, and I still love it. It's still one of the best books I've read on the subject, and it's called Don't Make Me Think. And he has this whole principle that when people hit your website in today's world, there's trillions of websites, and like, you know, everyone thinks they're about to be scammed. They're like, you know, precious for their time. They're probably on their mobile, and people are not going to give you much time. They'll hit your site, and if it's not instantly obvious what it is, they'll hit the back button. And Steve Krug in his book really talks about the idea that when people hit your website, imagine their finger is over the back button. It's hovering over the back button, just waiting for any excuse to hit the back button and get out of there. And one of those may be, one of the biggest reasons for that will actually be confusion. If they don't know exactly what this is, it's like, you know what, meh, I don't know what this is. I'm going to go somewhere else. All right. So the amount of time you have for that is 5 seconds. And just think about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That goes really fast. Okay. And believe me, you might kind of think, oh, mine, actually, I always hear people say, oh, well, mine's different. Mine is great. You think that, guys, because you've built the product, you know what your business is. So of course it makes sense to you. Pull someone off the street, show them your page, and let's see what they say. Now, there's only one way to test that. All right, is by actually doing it. And that's why I always recommend doing a 5-second test to actually test that. And that means going into somewhere like Starbucks, sitting, having your web page on your laptop. And I do this all the time. I will go into Starbucks, pick someone who's, on their own, kind of just chilling, having a coffee. I'll bring it up on my laptop or my iPad, and I show it to them and just say, hey, I've just built a new website. Do you mind if I just get your quick feedback on it? People will always say yes. I'll show it to them really quickly, and I'll count for 5 seconds in my head, and then I'll pull it away, and I'll ask them 2 questions. I'll say, what do you think this is, and what problem do you think it solves? And actually, for a bonus question, I might ask them 3. Who is it for? And you'll be shocked what they actually tell you. Either, they'll tell you something completely different, or they'll just say, I don't know. And you see, that is giving you real data on people who've never been to your site before. Okay. And your North Star metric you're shooting for is 8 out of 10 people giving you a positive indicator of the answers you're expecting from those questions. If not, you've got work to do. Do a quick on the fly update to your page, do some kind of like, rapid prototyping, maybe just update the messaging on your site, etc., and then do it again until you get that 8 out of 10. Okay, so tip number 1 is 5-second NUX. All right, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is increase social proof. Now, I was over in London at the weekend. I lived in London for years. Such a great city. And one of my favorite places is there's this lovely place in East London, which I used to live, where all the hipsters hang out, called Broadway Market. The best street food in town. is there, and you've just got all these street food vendors. And I just ate way too much, right? And I always do whenever I go there. I love it. But anyway, imagine you were there, and maybe your 4G was down, so you couldn't Google like best street food on Broadway Market, and you had to just kind of like guess. All right, I'll tell you, it was the first time I had been there in about it was the first time I was there in probably about 10 months, and there was all these new street food vendors. And imagine you were there for the first time, like I was. You didn't know the street food vendors, and you had to pick the best one. Now, that happened to me just at the weekend, because I walked on and there was all these new street food vendors, and there was one street food vendor, and the line was just around the corner for it. All right. And I'd never heard of it before. It wasn't even for a type of food. It was for this kind of like falafel pocket thing. Well, I wouldn't always run for falafels, right? But I just went, there's something about this place. It's like, there's no way you can have a queue that long if the food isn't great, right? And I actually walked up to a guy in the queue and I went, is it as good as the queue says it is? And he's just like, yep, it is. I was like, okay. Didn't even feel like falafel, but I got into that queue and it was rocking. So, why am I telling that story? Guys, this is what social proof is. Imagine you landed in a street food market and you didn't have access to the internet, and you had to guess, pick a street food vendor. How would you do it? Well, you do it by seeing which one is the most popular. Now, this is an important point if you want to start understanding human psychology, which is super important for understanding why people buy things. One of the top mentors I've had from a point of view, from like different books I've read, is this guy called Dr. Robert Cialdini. I have read his book, Influence, numerous times, and I highly recommend you check it out. In it, he brings you through 6 of the biggest, most influential levers of the human mind when it comes to people making decisions. Now, one of them is this idea of social proof. It's something which humans, through generations and centuries, have learned how to make fast decisions. Okay, so instead of having to make this fresh decisions on stuff all the time, people do shortcuts, okay? And one of them is, if everyone else is doing it, it must be safe and it must be okay. Okay, so think about it. If like the hunter-gatherers of the Amazon were, all eating berries from a tree, you know what? And they were still living, you know what? That must be okay to eat the berries from that tree too. And then more recently, the humans of this century, if you see a 5-star review on your Amazon order, it's probably okay too. All right. So this is what social proof is. So why am I telling this story? Well, this is important for you because think of your landing page on your site. You need to have social proof on it. So get logos on there. What is social proof? Okay, so logos. Who have you worked with? Clients that you've helped. You've helped Google? Great. You'll see on my howardkingston.com website, I've done speaking gigs at like Google. I've helped Facebook with their accelerators and startups and stuff like that. So I'll have those logos on my website. So if someone comes along to my website, they'll see clients I've helped: Facebook, Google, Unilever, people like that. All right. And you want to have that too. What kind of clients have you helped? Get those logos on there. Have you ever been featured in the press? This is why you'll always see on good landing pages, you'll see things like as featured in TechCrunch, The Next Web, Forbes magazine, things like that. Get that stuff on there as well. This is all incredibly powerful stuff for social proof. And the last one to include would be something like testimonials. All right. So other like-minded clients that you've had that have used the product, that have had great experience. Get that stuff all on there. Incredibly, incredibly powerful. So tip number 2 is include social proof. And then finally, tip number 3 is include a CTA. CTA. Now, what's a CTA? Well, every marketer will tell you no campaign is finished until you include a CTA. A CTA stands for a call to action. Now, That's important because, like, I remember about 2 weeks ago, we were going for a hike and we're driving back from our hike in the countryside, and there was this new road, and we hit a roundabout. And I went onto the roundabout, and I saw, and there was like multiple exits from the roundabout, and multiple ways I could go off the roundabout. And I went around, and there wasn't one sign to tell me which exit brought me to what destination. So I had to go around it about 3 or 4 times. In the end, I ended up just guessing, and thankfully I ended up in the right direction. But that was confusing. And that is just like what your customers will feel like when they hit your webpage. Unless you make it really obvious, hey, you want to go this direction? You should go this direction. So rather than making it like a roundabout with no signs, make sure your landing page is more like a water slide. You know the way a water slide, you get in at the top, you're a bit kind of like excited, you hop on the water, and you just end up in the place in just you. It's a one-way system. You just end up at the end place, right? You can't jump over the edge. You don't do, there's no left or rights. Make sure your landing page is very, very clear, like a water slide, as in make it really obvious how someone can take the next step. And that's what a call to action is. Now, really practically, what I mean by that is put buttons. Click here to sign up, or click here to get a free trial, or whatever it is your clear call to action is, but spell it out for people. So many times I'm on a page and I'm like, I want to buy this thing, but I literally don't know how to progress. Okay. And again, this will work really nicely with your 5-second test, showing it to some people who have not encountered the landing page before. Because don't forget, if you've built it, chances are you understand really, really well. That is not the same as someone who is just coming to your site for the very, very first time. They may not understand that. I would always have one call to action right at the top, around the, like, what's called above the fold. That's right at the top of your web page. One at the bottom, and then depending on how long your page is, you might want to have one in the middle as well. All right. So guys, what I've just been sharing in this episode is 3 really practical, tactical ways to double your conversions on your landing page. And by the way, if you double the conversions on your landing page, you also can double your sales. Who doesn't like that? All right. So I'll give you 3 really practical tips. 1, check out the 5-second nooks. 2, add some social proof, just like the Flaffle place did. And 3, make sure you add a CTA. Okay. So guys, peace out. If you know someone that you think would benefit from this, please do share this episode with them. It will allow me to get the message out, and it also helps really expand our message. I've got this great kind of vision and mission to impact 1 million people, to live a better life, grow better businesses, and I'd love you to help me with that. So guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Do make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Chat soon.